The Messianic Manic says, does Ireland have more or fewer gingers than America? They do have more gingers as a percentage than America. However, you'd be probably surprised well, you probably wouldn't be that surprised if you know how to use the Google, that there actually aren't a ton of redheads in Ireland, more than probably in most countries, but it's not a huge amount. We did make jokes about all the ginger leprechauns, as we referred to them, the little kids with the bright red hair, very very cute little kids. But Integral Math says, did you have as much fun in the lavatory with me as I had with you? Not to give the game away, but he was shouting, "Hey Kool-Aid!" So Integral Math, yes, he's one of those guys. I like Integral Math in general, but like when he watches my videos, and then especially ones where he disagrees with me on, he's like a dog with a bone, and he just doesn't ever let it go, and I get bored with it, and just let him have the bone, so to speak. Integral Math, and so then he has an interesting arguing style, but I don't know, eventually I just get tired of it and just move on to the next thing. So anyway, so Ayanli Mohammed says, thanks for giving us the opportunity to ask questions. My question is, I love traveling to different parts in the world, so what do you think is the best career that suits my passion for traveling? Can you please name a few careers? I've searched on Google and different sites, but can't get sufficient information. Appreciate you giving your time and expertise. Thanks. So the reason why I travel is because part of my role is to provide training for clients, and so that has me going to client sites sometimes. It's actually not a huge percentage. I mean, it's a fair percentage, but not a huge percentage of my actual work. But that's the part of my work that has me traveling, and the rest of the time I work from home. So let's see. And as far as advice for what you should do to travel, someone else, Adlust of Blackula, said, I know he's supposed to answer, but I'd really like to suggest ambassador work. That's not a bad option, and not just ambassador, but just foreign service in general. Or, so you could start out with something like the Peace Corps if you're willing to do that, and then through the Peace Corps, there's probably going to be other opportunities working for other NGOs in other countries, and then you can use that country. If you live in a different country, you can use that to explore the region around you. There are a lot of different ways to do that, and I would chat with, if you ever, if you have friends that are living abroad, talk to them, figure out what they're doing. That kind of thing. So, but Peace Corps is a good place to start, at least, or other, or non-governmental organizations. So, face what's ahead. Good old Variablast. So I'm going to paraphrase what his question is here. His questions basically, are the Irish considered sort of the downtrodden ethnicity, or nationality, I guess, within Europe? Are they the downtrodden nationality, or is it really the Roma that are? And I would say actually it's the Roma for sure, because anytime you see the Roma around, they're often doing things like doing the game, like the street gambling games with the cards and the shell games or whatever, and they're trying to, they sometimes will con people out of money and that kind of thing. And it's unfortunate, because I'm sure there are tons of perfectly nice Roma, but the ones that are the most visible are the ones that are in the touristy areas, and they're often trying to steal your money, either through pickpocketing or through fixed games, or whatever it is they're trying to do. So it's probably that much more so than Irish. Short Drummer 991, what are your thoughts on the idea that most Middle East wars are just wars for oil? I don't think it's that simple. I think very few things are that simple. I'm sure that's part of it. I'm sure that the resource considerations are certainly part of it, but I'm sure they're not the only reason. It's just part of it's just power in general, and then some of it, of course, is fear of losing security, or not or losing influence, and also not wanting our enemies to have more influence. So we have to also influence to meet them in the middle, kind of proxy wars kind of stuff, and it sucks, but that's, I think, what a lot of that is. Volbet says, good old Rasmus. Yes, Rasmus says, what do you love most about traveling the world? meeting interesting people, and it's always interesting meeting interesting people around the world, and also seeing how people live and learning about the culture. And it really is more about that than seeing the sights, although I love also to see the sights, of course, too. But really understanding how a culture works and what they value and that kind of thing. I do like hearing about that and learning about that, and so that's always good to know. Select Hawk says, I'd kind of like to know your opinion on the Ulster situation. Do you think the tensions are more religiously based, or are they more about history and geopolitics? Well, the basis of it is religion, but the actual where the rubber meets the road with that problem is not religion itself. It's the way that it's really economic opportunity, because of the way that jobs were given out, especially before the Good Friday Accords. There were a lot of problems with only Protestants would get the decent jobs and Catholics would get the crappy jobs, until they imposed some regulations on hiring to make sure that it was actually more of a meritocracy and didn't just have to do with what religion you were, what sect of a religion you were, even further than that. So yeah, it was, I think there's a lot of history in geopolitics, and some of that, of course, driven by sectarianism. Ella Hadakovich says, favorite Beatles song? I don't know, Let It Be, maybe, Yellow Submarine, I don't know. Never was really much of a Beatles fan, so, let's see. I was never really into classic rock in general. The band that I like the most that could almost maybe can be considered classic rock would be maybe like Aerosmith, but of course they were more recent than the Beatles anyway. But so, all right, let me see here. Dyslexic Gamer says, "What are their urban legends?" And what are their urban legends? I don't actually know what the Irish urban legends are. I do know that, well, I don't know, but I didn't see any evidence for leprechauns, as I think I mentioned in my Ireland video. I didn't actually see any evidence for leprechauns there, so I can only tell you that. I didn't see any pots of gold, or not even any rainbows, though it did rain a lot. So that I saw. But Mr. Pone says, what is your favorite Lord of the Rings race and why? High elves, easy. They have super long life. I mean, so they can live for centuries or thousands of years, or whatever it is that they can live, or maybe they're immortal. I forgot what the actual mythology of it is in Lord of the Rings exactly. Yeah, that definitely high elves. They had all the information and the time to use it. So Self-Immolator says, what altitude are you at right now? Well, I'm at the altitude of home right now, although when you wrote this, I was probably somewhere over the North Atlantic, so in that case I would have been at about 38,000 feet or so, 38 or 40,000 feet. Muslim Goku says, you said your daughter watches My Little Pony, so I am assuming you know the characters of the show. Who is best pony? Yeah, I don't, and I responded to that one in text also. I said, I don't have kids, you're thinking of my niece, and yes, she has had two favorites at least. I asked her on camera once, but could never find a video that would work to put it in. Maybe now's the time. And actually, the videos that I have where she said which ponies she likes, one time she said Rainbow Dash, and the other time she said Pinkie Pie. And I don't know, I guess who knows what she likes. But I do have a very cute video of her that I think I should show you right now. Here's a video my sister took of my niece Clara, who just turned 3, and I'll see her next week.
You talked to Uncle Eric?
Look, there's raspberry.
Where's the raspberry?
Right there.
Uh-oh. There it is. Can you tell Uncle Eric you can't wait to see him?
I can't wait to see him, Uncle Eric.